Comic books have been a source of hope and inspiration and a great medium for entertainment for countless people over the generations. Most of us have grown up reading these books, which were the first sparks to ignite the flames of imagination within us. While the world of comic books, even the more mature ones, are filled with characters that leave us in awe, there are also those that fill us with absolute dread. Every superhero out there has a gallery of rogues comprised of recurring villains in their comics. Perhaps nobody in the entire DC and Marvel landscape have as brutal and psychotic a lineup of villains as Batman. To give you an idea, these villains aren't incarcerated like other supervillains in ordinary maximum security prisons, they're instead hosted in Arkham Asylum for the criminally insane. The last two words of our previous sentence are key here, meaning almost all of Batman's villains are deranged psychopaths, and while they may not all possess superpowers and high-tech gadgets, it doesn't make them any less dangerous. When Kyle Rayner joined the Justice League as its new Green Lantern, he would take the task of ferrying the Joker to Arkham Asylum, not understanding why Batman was so uptight and serious about the task. Once inside Arkham though, the deeper he goes inside the Institute to take the Joker to his cell, we're shown the Green Lantern growing steadily paler. At the very end, despite putting up a brave act in front of the Joker, he's seen steadily breaking into a run before he can be seen pale-faced sprinting out of Arkham even as the Joker laughs maniacally in the background. Not even the man with one of the most powerful objects in the DC comic universe could stand up to the pressure of the psychotic aura of Batman's villains, and it just goes to show that the world Batman inhabits is on a completely different level to those of his superhero compatriots. Out of all the weird and psychotic villains of Batman, none are more iconic and feared than the Joker. This deeply troubled maniac's sole purpose in existence seems to be centered around making Batman's life hell. He's been brought to the big screen by talented actors like Heath Ledger, Jack Nicholson, and most recently Joaquin Phoenix, all of whom have achieved critical acclaim and awards for playing the role. The Joker is chaos incarnate, and depending on the writer in the story, his personality can vary from a troublemaker with a comedic flair to a psycho capable of killing children and molesting women. In today's video, we'll be talking about the little-known physique, abilities, and anatomical details of the Joker. Through this, we hope to gain an understanding of this enigmatic character that's plagued the Dark Crusader ever since his debut in Batman issue number 1 in 1940. With Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix's Joker lighting up theaters and the streets of Gotham once more, we figured now's as good a time as any to delve further into the character of the Clown Prince of Crime. Before we get into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. It's a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Now, let's get right into things and hope we come out on the other end with our sanity still intact. Who is Joker? How was the Joker created, and what transformed him? On the surface, we all know who the Joker is. He's the clown-faced, psychotic arch-nemesis of Batman. Calling him merely psychotic would be understating it, as he's downright the personification of chaos itself, existing solely to torment Batman and to watch the world burn around him. For such an important and iconic character, his origin story couldn't be murkier. Even though we're not here to recount a mere origin story of the Joker, we feel the need to explore it, as there are certain layers to his character that can only be discussed if the audience is informed of his origin story, or the lack thereof. The Joker doesn't have an origin story as much as he has origin stories. There are multiple different versions of his story, and he has a flair for adding to these stories, which muddles the water even more. See, if things were left to the Joker to tell the audience of his origin story, he would be the devil incarnate, an evil spirit of a psycho clown, an android, or an abused child who endured terrible hardship and chose crime as an escape. The most accepted version of his origin is that he was a criminal named Albie, or in some versions, Red Hood number 1, who fell into a vat of chemicals in a factory belonging to Ace Chemicals. Depending on the story you're reading, he could have accidentally fallen into the chemicals or chosen to do so voluntarily to escape Batman. Regardless, his skin was bleached white and his hair dyed green as a result. This transformation wasn't just skin deep, however, as the incident fractured his psyche, unleashing the psychotic clown that we're all familiar with today. In some versions of the story, there are as many as 3 individuals who operate under this moniker at a given time. Regardless of the true identity of the person, most people consider this series of events canon. The confusion regarding his origins initially occurred due to the three creators, Bob Kane, Bill Finger, and Jerry Robinson, who gave their own versions of the character's origins. Initially presented as a cold-blooded killer with an unnerving smile whose victims are found with a morbid grin on their dead faces, he would transform into more of a prankster during the 50s, especially due to the controversial censors of the Comic Code Authority. Over the course of several decades, we've seen him slowly return to the chaotic, evil character that we're familiar with. How does the Joker excel as a master escapologist? Well, Batman is a master of many different skills, including the art of escaping from even the most harrowing and dire situations and traps, including marriage. His arch-nemesis, the Joker, is no slouch in that department either. Ever since his debut, the number of times that the Joker has been incarcerated within Arkham Asylum is innumerable. Despite this, he seems to be up and about wreaking havoc in Batman's life constantly, as if he'd never been to Arkham. He devises new and innovative ways to escape from the asylum, and he does it with such frequency that the only reason he even spends time in Arkham is because he wants to. There are many other foes of Batman locked in there with him, some of whom have superpowers while others don't, but none of them have been able to escape from Arkham as much as he has. This shows that he's not able to escape because Arkham's security is flawed, but because he truly means to solidify his status as a master escapologist. Expert combatant. Despite what his demeanor may suggest, the Joker is uncannily good at hand-to-hand conflict, as seen over the years. He once beat down and captured Alfred, Bruce Wayne's butler, and while beating up an aging butler might not be the feat of strength that you would have expected to learn about when talking about someone being an expert hand-to-hand combatant, Alfred is no mere butler. He's a former SAS veteran, an elite deadshot, and an expert hand-to-hand combatant himself. In the Injustice universe, after taking a pill that grants him temporary superpowers, Alfred demolishes Superman and beats him to a pulp. He's also taken on members of the Bat family like the various Robins, Nightwing, Batgirl, and the Red Hood in battle and bested them on numerous occasions. He's the reason Barbara Gordon retires from being the Batgirl and instead becomes Oracle after being paralyzed from the waist down. The Joker is also responsible for the murder of Jason Todd, the second Robin who would later return as the Red Hood. In one of the comics, he single-handedly kills close to 19 police officers inside the Gotham City Police Department station. However, his greatest feat of strength as a combatant would be when he and Batman formed an unlikely alliance to take on the Batman Who Laughs. The Batman Who Laughs, for those unfamiliar with the character, is a Batman from another universe infected with Joker toxin, causing him to transform into a hybrid of Batman and the Joker. He had the combat prowess and intelligence of the Dark Knight with the diabolical cunning and psychotic tendencies of the Clown Prince of Crime. He would almost destroy the entire DC universe before being stopped by the duo. What explains the Joker's incredible resistance to pain? We've witnessed the Joker display an incredible amount of resistance to pain throughout his history. Most of us have usually dismissed it as just being part of the character's identity to make him appear more unhinged. While this may be true, the comic Batman: The Killing Joke by Alan Moore, which came out in 1988, provides us with a possible reason for this. In the comics, we see the Joker falling into the vat of chemicals at the Ace chemical plant, which is part of his usual origin story. The supremely psychotic and violent version of the Joker that emerges from this incident is a 180-degree snap from the failed comedian who only agreed to the failed heist to support his pregnant wife. This makes us theorize that perhaps the incident didn't just alter him physically, but also mentally. Just like the acid attack that would damage Harvey Dent's face and also his psyche, resulting in the emergence of his evil alter ego, Two-Face. The Joker's psyche and nervous system could have become irrevocably damaged by the chemicals he fell into. This could have resulted in him not just becoming a deranged maniac, but also gaining an immunity to pain. In the Injustice universe, the Joker causes Superman to turn into a super fascist by murdering Lois Lane and the Man of Steel's unborn child, along with wiping Metropolis off the map. This causes Superman to confront the Joker, and despite Batman's attempts to reason with him, he punches a hole through the villain's chest. However, even as he dies, the Joker shows no semblance of pain or fear, instead saying, "Now that's a punchline," before dying. During the events of Batman Endgame, the Joker is shot, stabbed, and even has a building collapse on top of him. By all logic, he should have been dead and buried, but miraculously survives it all. The Joker continues to torment the Caped Crusader despite his injuries from his incidents, displaying a reckless drive and an incredible resistance to pain. In this comic book series, this is subtly attributed to his usage of a wonder drug called Dionysium, which grants him an insane healing factor. We would, however, like to believe that he survives his ordeal because he's just built differently. In most comic books, the Joker displays a high tolerance for pain despite getting beaten to a pulp by Batman, who's at the pinnacle of human strength and conditioning. Everyone knows while Batman doesn't kill, he certainly beats people up hard enough to give them brain damage and put them into comas. We'd like to believe that Batman reserves his most vicious blows for his arch-nemesis, the Joker, and despite this, the Clown Prince of Crime keeps coming back for more with a grin on his face. Whether his resistance to pain is because of a drug or the result of an accident, this much is certain. The Joker's not afraid of pain and will come back to haunt the footsteps of the Dark Knight forever. Why is the Joker immune to his own Joker venom? Due to his unique physiology that he attained after falling into the chemical vat, the Joker is resistant to most known poisons and toxins, including his own Joker venom. This is perhaps why Scarecrow's fear toxin doesn't seem to affect the Joker, as his body is constantly breaking down and expelling toxins from within itself at a faster rate than they can affect him. According to Grant Morrison, the reason why the Joker is immune to poison and toxins is because of his own bizarre form of immunotherapy. He states that the Joker is an avid consumer of his own dangerous chemical concoctions, which has resulted in him building up a steady immunity towards these things to the point where they don't even affect him anymore. This would include him consuming the Joker venom as well, making him resistant to the substance. While something of this nature would normally kill an ordinary human being, we all know that the Joker is anything but ordinary. Is Joker's blood toxic? Thanks to the years of abuse where he's subjected himself to various drugs and toxins that he created, it's believed that the Joker's blood is highly toxic as well. His blood is toxic enough for a mosquito to die after feeding on him. One can only imagine the chemicals swirling around inside his body, and it wouldn't be a surprise if the Joker wouldn't be allowed to donate his blood anytime soon, though this would be all the more reason for him to attempt to do so. In Batman and Robin, issue number 14, it's hinted that Damian Wayne has been infected by a strain of the Joker venom from the villain's blood that was smeared on Robin's face. This gives further credence to the theory that Joker venom and other toxins quite literally flow through his veins, and at this point, it's really not something he needs to produce artificially. Can the Joker's laughter really make people's heads explode? In the crossover comic book series titled Batman Judge Dredd Die Laughing, issue number 2 by Alan Grant, the Joker travels to the brutal universe of Judge Dredd. Once there, he frees one of the villains of Dredd, known as Judge Death, who grants the Joker mystical powers and transforms him into one of the judges. He gains the diabolical power of making those who hear his laugh join him, eventually making their heads explode. This was a perfect superpower for the Clown Prince of Crime, and it gave us a brief glimpse into what would happen if the Joker gained superpowers for a day. While there have been other instances throughout his history where he's gained some sort of super ability, this was perhaps the most fitting and powerful. Unfortunately for the Joker, he loses this ability when he returns to his native universe. Oh, no! What is involuntary emotional expression disorder, IEED, and how does it affect the Joker in the 2019 film? The condition that Joaquin Phoenix's Joker suffers from in the 2019 film is very much a real-life disorder. It's triggered when the patient is overwhelmed with intense feelings such as anxiety, shame, and nervousness. This normally results in the patient breaking into laughter or, in some cases, crying, which only intensifies as the emotions get further triggered by the perceived discomfort they're causing to others in their vicinity. Joaquin Phoenix delivers a cerebral performance in the film, linking Joker's traditional maniacal laughter to this condition. In the film, it's stated that his neurological disorder might have been contracted by Arthur thanks to the several blows to the head he received as a child. He was physically abused as a child, which stunted his emotional growth and further led to him being bullied as a young man and an adult, which aggravated his condition even more. It would eventually lead him down a path of anarchy and crime and transform the harmless failed comedian with low self-esteem into the lord of chaos and mayhem that we're familiar with. All this because society never cared to understand the IEED that he suffered from, due to which they failed to show him any empathy. The character of the Joker is that of a person who's constantly laughing but's hollow inside, as his laughter, unlike that of ordinary people, isn't tied to joy, but to shame. Does the Joker have higher intelligence despite his insanity? While it is true that the Joker is entirely insane, that doesn't mean that there isn't any rhyme or reason for what he does. As a being of pure chaos, there seems to be a method to his madness. His mind is a veritable maze full of horror, showing that even the bravest of individuals would succumb if they delve too deep within it. The Joker isn't some simple, run-of-the-mill, mentally unstable person. We've seen time and time again how he puts up these challenges in front of the Dark Knight that push our friend right to the edge. These aren't the works of someone who's simply crazy, they're the works of an unhinged genius. Another testament to his genius is how he constantly concocts numerous new and dangerous toxins. This shows that the Joker has some high-level knowledge regarding the creation of these, which can only be possible if he's a genius-level chemist. In another display of his genius, he can brainwash the Doctor, Harleen Quinzel, into becoming the villain known as Harley Quinn. This shows us that the Joker, despite his madness, has a deep understanding of the way the human psyche functions. We shouldn't be surprised though, as madness and brilliance aren't always two mutually exclusive things. Many of the world's leading minds are said to be slightly crazy, but in the Joker's case, he just happens to be crazy, which seems to explain not only his intelligence, but also his murderous tendencies. How does the Joker represent the jester archetype in psychology? Esteemed Swiss psychiatrist and psychotherapist Carl Jung has a comprehensive framework for understanding archetypes, which we can use to analyze the Joker's creation. Looking at Jung's theory, the Joker embodies the jester archetype. The jester is an archetype associated with individuals who use humor and chaos to challenge the status quo. The Joker is constantly challenging the status quo by putting the city of Gotham and the Batman through trials and tribulation, forcing society as a large to confront its double standards and value systems. Due to his chaotic nature, this might not have been his intention, but his actions nonetheless have this effect. He also challenges Batman's value systems, primarily his vow to never take human life during all their encounters. He constantly pushes the Dark Knight to his boundaries, as he believes that all it takes is just one bad day. Through his sadistic use of humor to torment Batman, the Dark Knight is never at peace, even when the Joker is locked behind bars in Arkham. Marvelous verdict! The Joker is perhaps the most complex character to ever grace the pages of a comic book to date. He provides a challenge that's not just on a cerebral level for Batman. Other than the IRS, we don't know what the Joker is afraid of. This makes it all the more challenging for Batman, as how do you defeat an opponent who knows no fear? While the majority of Gotham's criminal underbelly cower in fear at the mention of Batman, including some of his superpowered villains, this mystique and aura that Batman has created around himself seems to have no effect on the Joker. Instead, it seems to have, over the years, increased his obsession with the Dark Knight. We hope that with this video, we've been able to shed some light on Gotham's clown prince of crime. We love making videos like this for you guys, as it allows us to engage with not just the character, but also you, our audience, in a much deeper dialogue regarding some of the most fascinating characters to grace our screens. Let us know your thoughts on the Joker and what your favorite Joker moments are in the comment section down below. We absolutely want to see them, but for now, we have come to the end of our video. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already, and we hope to see you in the next one. Until next time, stay safe and stay marvelous.